I ask you a question? Are you ready to get and keep momentum in your business? I hope so, because it's Penny Elliott here, your host to having the perfect mix of the woo with the do. If you're ready to create the life that you want through a business designed by you, then tune in. Amazing! Welcome back to another episode of Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, me, Penny Elliott. This is the show where we match the woo with the do. So it's like your perfect mix of mindset and strategy so you can have fast success in your online business and finally create that world that you thought you were going to live in when you started your business. And today I have Amanda with me all the way from Australia. So it's nice to be almost in the same time zone and the same season. So like I'm not like in a singlet top and someone else is in a jersey. That's really good. And it's really wonderful to have you on here because before we jumped on, I let you in on a secret that you were the very first like online coach I'd ever seen. And so good Facebook ad targeting there. And I thought, wow, can people really make a living from like coaching other people how to build businesses? And I was just fascinated. So it's a real honor to go full circle and have you on the show. So welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. And seriously, you've made my day sharing that. It's such a fun story.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always let people introduce themselves because no one sells yourself like you do. So tell us what you do, who you help, and what ripple effect do you have in the world?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me. My name is Amanda Daley. I am from New Zealand as well, that we were just chatting about, but yeah, I live in Australia, and I'm a business mentor specifically for health coaches and wellness entrepreneurs. So I've niched pretty tightly there. I've been in online marketing and business for 21 years. I just worked out yesterday. Each year it goes up in the bio. So yeah, my first job was actually in the startup team of eBay UK, literally when they were just starting. Back in the day, and worked in agency world for a long time until I was really burning out and just doing everything I could for my own health, learning so much, having so many breakthroughs, and at the same time still kind of struggling as we do. So one thing led to another, and when health coaching came along back in 2011, 2012, trained in that, and a few years later everyone was like, you must teach us what you're doing. How have you grown your business? So that's kind of the short story of how it evolved. And I've really been doing exactly the same program, which kind of sounds boring for an entrepreneur, I think. But since my Upswing Mastermind launched end of 2014.
Yeah.
And that's still my signature program to today. Maybe we might start evolving next year. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I do. I've really tightly niched and studied and, you know, the intricacies of health coaching and wellness. So yeah, that's me.
And you know what? The last question is, what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space? But I actually think we need to jump it up because, I mean, you can answer it later as well. But from an outsider's perspective and from speaking to lots of other coaches over the 4 years that I've been doing this, you are the queen. Like we could literally make you a crown and that would be it, because everyone is always so in awe of your is it resilience, is it determinedness, is it I'm not sure what the right word is, but it's the ability to stop looking at shiny object syndrome and stay in your lane. You know, you don't just stay in your lane, you own the lane now. And literally everyone that I've spoken to who's ever said is interested in the health coaching world is like, oh, I know, but Amanda does that, and everyone goes to Upswing. Like, and you've kept the same product and the same consistency, which has just been incredible. No one else has done that.
Oh, thank you.
It's unbelievable.
These mirrors and reflections you're sharing with me today. It's a real gift.
Seriously though, you look at any of the other big coaches, none of them have had the same program for that many years. And I mean that, yet everyone harps on about being consistent. Yet we go, oh, Pinterest, oh, Instagram, oh, I think I changed my messaging. Oh, no one's buying from me. Oh, I changed my messaging, you know, and you've just really honed your craft.
I can share with you to the best of my ability why I think that is. I mean, definitely, like I started saying before, that's a bit boring, isn't it? Maybe I should do this, maybe I should do this. But I genuinely, from a deep, deep heart space, feel very connected to this is my work to do in the world. And I'm not driven by the money that comes from that. I'm not driven by having a successful business. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I got to keep the business running, and it's always hard to make decisions, like that. But as in, sometimes you might want to go this way, but this is going to bring in the money, of course, in a business. But I just feel like I'm the advocate for health coaching coming through in the world. And maybe that will broaden into different wellness modalities, energetic modalities, etc. There is, since the day that clicked in place for me, which was early 2014, it was like everything just went bing, 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 and instead of the kind of grasping and searching for growing a business or getting a following or something like that, that's what felt like clicked into place then. Don't get me wrong. I do look around. Of course I do, like everyone else. Why is this not going well enough or quick enough or all those things? But every time I want to give up, there is this piece of me that genuinely is doing this work for health coaches and to get that work out to the world, which is beyond money or beyond, what I get. I actually know, I know there would be easier ways for me to make money. I could definitely do high-end consulting just by myself, and I do some of that on the side, but that would actually be an easier business model than the larger group masterminds that I hold for health and wellness entrepreneurs. But again, at least to this day, that's the way I'm meant to teach. That's the way that works. Like, I feel very, very aligned to that. And I think that's more what people can see and feel, even if it doesn't maybe sometimes make sense or look that way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I always ask guests, like, how do you get consistent clients? Like, what's your secret sauce? Is it that you've relaunched and honed and learned and kept like diving in, or is there something else?
Yeah, I think that there'd be a different answer if you're asking me how I've got consistent clients than someone, starting out. But for my business, it is that I've stuck the game. It is that I've allowed that brand to build, the know, like, and the trust. I've seen 5 examples this week, not lying, that someone has sent me of, hey, this looks like your work that someone's put online. So there's definitely people out there.
Yeah.
But even when I see that, I'm like, there's no way that anybody has studied this work for 8-9 years full time. In that way. And there's that knowing that just kind of keeps you grounded in that way. And why I say that is that's a brand that builds. I always say there's 3 layers. There's brand, there's marketing, and sales. If you were starting out as a coach, I'd say you've got to focus on sales, actually, not your branding and not even your marketing that much. You got to ask people for the dance, you got to get them, and you would be the queen of that with your sales skills. But the consistency longer term does build by you showing up, keep going, not giving up. Your brand starts to build, your following starts to build. And specifically, I think for my business, it has been, I've done large launches and people don't always buy that time. I understand that people are watching longer term. I understand that they'll buy after 2 launches, 3 launches, or cycles of seeing my marketing. And honestly, I'm not the most consistent person with my marketing in between launches. I would love to improve that. I'm definitely trying to work on that, but I've been consistent at the twice a year, large promotion, giving it all. And obviously, the volume of clients that I've now coached has that ripple effect, and word of mouth as well.
Yeah, I think having that consistency in showing up to your launches and like the size of them, and like it's really it almost becomes like I know what's going to happen, and now the time is right for me, so I'm going to step in and take that course. And I think that a lot of people get really upset that, I've got 5,000 people on my list, and so therefore this many should buy, and they've sat on my list for 2 years and I can see they haven't bought anything. Well, sometimes, it just takes it has to be right. The puzzle pieces have to be right for them in their life to make the leap.
Yeah, they really do. And, I haven't necessarily fully implemented this, but I am aware of that, of people's buying cycles. And if they're not ready to buy now, I'm never going to be pushy. I'm never going to push that sale. It's like, great, because they're likely to be my next client in the cycle. And if anything, the marketing I do in between is to be conscious of that, to be giving lots of value, to be educating on things that people might have needed to be seeing, before they actually purchase.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, you can't force your clients. You want clients who are ready, and it's about being there at the time that they are.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess over your years since 2014 and probably before that, there's always setbacks.
Yeah.
So is there one that you could share with us that we really had to sit down and go, Amanda, what am I going to do here to sort of, get yourself back in momentum to keep moving forward?
Yeah, there's two things that come to mind. I mean, I think business is constantly setbacks. Business is largely problem solving for problems.
Yeah, that is true.
And I don't know about you, Penny, but for me, this has been my spiritual journey. So I literally believe that it's almost like a blueprint of business is here for my own growth of every way, the hardest things. Two things come to mind when you say that, like two biggest setbacks. One, I do only sell twice a year. It's an extremely risky business. It's not one that I actually recommend to anyone. And it's one that I'm always exploring ways out of to a degree. I mean, right now you can actually join Upswing Mastermind at any time. We don't advertise that publicly, but we open a few spots a month, like behind the scenes. So I've worked out now the delivery, but look, in the past, I would sell once or twice a year. And you think about it, the more you scale, the bigger the risk. Like there's just no way around it. You put all your team, all your time resources, all your Facebook ad money, all your whatever up front before you have any idea what's going to come. It's essentially like emptying the sea out, right? And you got no idea. And so that's scary and risky as it is. And I've done 14 large launches. I've done other small ones. And so I've definitely seen my fair share of things going wrong. And one that comes to mind was we had 450, I think, live people on a webinar, done an amazing challenge week, all the webinar. We're right through to the pitch. We've still got 250 people live. We're like, oh my gosh. And I'm literally in my mind, you're waiting for that day you've made it. I'm like, oh my God, I think we've done it. Like whatever done it is. And then the webinar software cut me off. And there's a large amount of ad spend behind it. I mean, this is it. If they don't buy on this webinar, it's not happening. And it wasn't just that, the webinar kept running. So I was unable to speak or be seen. So here's the other thing. All of a sudden, all these business coaches who I unbeknowingly are sitting on my webinar watching start trolling because I have no control. Bad-mouthing me in the chat, telling them come to our offer instead. And it's all just playing out in front of me. And there's literally, so the whole launch budget, I can't remember how much it was, but it was a lot of money, went down the drain. The whole launch goes down the drain. And we're like, I don't think I can come back from this. And a replay, but I mean, that's a really bad impression when people...
Yeah.
And I think we got 2 applications that day. When you compare that to my recent launch 3 months ago, same webinar, we got 68 applications.
Oh my word.
In those days, I was probably used to getting, I don't know, 20 to 30. You know what I mean? So it was over, literally over. And we had the rest of the launch. And, I've got to try and compose myself. You remember, I can only make money again 6 months later. And how am I even going to run the program? How am I going to run the team? Like all the fears that go through your mind. And I literally, it wasn't the day after my 40th birthday, but it was the day after my 40th birthday party. Because I remember having to hold it all together and smile in front of people. And the next day just lay on the floor. And I honestly just felt like everything was over. including shame of what people were going to think. I thought I was going to lose the business. I thought I was going to lose my house. Like, that's how extreme I was thinking. And the reason I share this story is since that day, I've never really had fear of, or not that day, but, process that. I've never had huge fear again of failure in business. Of course I do, like, oh my God, what if it goes wrong? But not to that degree. And I think there's an example of the more that things have gone wrong, it literally like builds your resilience. It makes you realize, you know what? Then 2-3 weeks later, we said, great, we've got to make 20 sales by May. And we did.
Yeah.
That was actually the start of us doing like mini launches between launches and a bit of a start towards evergreen. We've done those ever since, which means now we make those extra 20 sales between every launch. And really, in hindsight, it didn't harm the business in any way. But on paper and as our brain goes, it really felt like it's huge risk. The whole thing's over. So that's probably my biggest challenge. I mean, I feel like I've done a lot of work to let go of talking about it was January 2018. I'm glad I can't quite remember the year, but I'm pretty sure it was the January 2018 launch. That would be right for timing. And then honestly, just not to go into the same level of story, but the other biggest struggle that I've had is team. The bigger the, I don't think enough people talk about this, but the more you grow, you're all of a sudden running, a 7-figure business, which requires large team. There's a lot of dynamics behind that, and that is not my natural skill set. And, touch wood, I'm feeling pretty, I'm loving my team right now, actually. But I had a very solid team for a long time. And when that started to naturally change, which everyone said it would, as you really go, past that 7 mark, 7-figure, you can't, it's just a different frequency, isn't it? Different requirements. And I spent a good 18 months of what just felt like having to rehire every month. Like the team wouldn't stick. And
like spending more time training than you are actually getting ahead, and you start to question yourself, like, I've taught this like 3 times, or I've told people where the videos are 3 times. It would have just been easier if I just loaded it and done it myself.
Yeah. And again, I mean, gosh, so many personal lessons in that. But I would say, I'm glad I'm not feeling that way today. But the last couple of years, that's been one of the hardest things. It can be one thing everyone has their different strengths. It's one thing to put a launch out there and easily sell. But my highest value is delivery and what we're doing with the clients, and all of that behind the scenes things, I think, is so much more than anyone realizes once the business gets bigger. It's not like me sitting here with a VA, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's quite hard to get all those things, processes out of your head. But it's very difficult to get the values and the level of delivery that you expect.
Yeah.
Hard to install that passion and vision in other people.
Yes.
Who are like, I just get that graphic done. Yeah, but you could also make a tweak and do it here and pop it there and create it for this, and to get those people to think for themselves and have a seat at the table and share that passion. That is next level management, and that's very, very difficult to do if you haven't come from a management background.
Yeah, and I probably don't desire to, but could write several books on the topic. I do entrepreneurial space. We go for VAs or people who are wanting to do part-time hours or build their own business, and all these kind of dynamics. And I've learned that they're not necessarily the most skilled. They're not necessarily wanting to get on with the job. This is a blanket statement.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think I've seen every shade of what's possible out there in that. And look, I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just a reality. I think people see running a business and think it's about doing Instagram and just making money. But if you really want to scale a business to a larger side, it's just like running a company, like a true company. And you mentioned processes. I do wish in hindsight's always great. But when I first understood years ago, you need to get your processes before you scale, my business was always growing so fast and focusing on client delivery that we weren't doing that as we went. Or I thought we were. We even hired people to do that. But really what I understand now, I've had to learn to break that down in myself. What are you really doing? What are the steps? It's not a natural skill for me. And I would say, at least to where I am now, I'm sure there's more to learn. Why I'm feeling in a better place with the team is because I now know I'm back in my power and I know how to do everything in my business.
Yeah.
And if someone leaves, that's fine. Here's the process. We might have to go through some training, but that's very different than hiring in people that knew how to do things that I didn't.
Yes.
So,
yes. And that's what I teach a lot of the
do it early.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why a lot of my clients that come to me are like, oh, I'll just outsource that. No, I'll just outsource that automation, and I'll outsource my emails. And I really try and encourage them to learn the process themselves first, because one, you might actually enjoy it. And so you might actually like doing it. And two, you're so right, because when you do grow and someone says, oh, that can't be done, or, oh, it's going to cost an extra $300, or they leave, you know how to jump in and at least do the basics and fix the basics. And you know when people are trying to pull the wool over your eyes, you know how to take the reins if you need to.
Yeah, we all have our blocks to our next level. And that was mine for a long time, that if I grew bigger and had more team, then if someone left, I couldn't hold it. And now I feel much more in my power. Not that I necessarily want to do those tasks.
Yes, but
I do know that if someone leaves, I can do it. I can work it out. And a lot of reclaiming that for myself has really helped in the last year.
Yeah. So I guess usually I'd like to ask you a bit of an off-piste question. Since you coach health coaches and in the wellness space, like what's the one or two non-negotiable things that you have each day that look after yourself before your business?
For me personally, such a good question.
Because like you're a 7-figure business owner, it'd be really easy to be like stuck in your seat, but you have to kind of walk the talk if you're coaching health coaches.
Absolutely. Look, I genuinely believe, like, my mission really is to show women that we don't have to burn out to build a business. And I would be, of course, lying to you to say I've just shared with you some very stressful, situations. Things can get stressful, things can whatever, but I've learned the more I work on my health, the more my business thrives. That is the truth, even if we fall off. Now, largely, I believe that to do with vibration, clear-mindedness, decision-making, all of those things. So my routine changes a lot. Yep. When I'm in a launch, I'm very ritualistic. Yep. I would never not go to the beach. Every morning I meditate. I won't get on the computer. I'm very in a launch space. I protect my energy, and I know what that takes to be on to my highest form. On an everyday, my non-negotiable is actually breathing. It seems so basic that sitting down, I don't have to do 20 minutes meditation, or I'll go through phases of that for sure. But if nothing more, some rounds of really good, deep, solid breathing resets my whole system. I'm a pretty clean eater. I actually find the word non-negotiable a challenging one on the spot, because I think I do change my rhythm and my ritual so much. Breathing's always there. Early night's always there. I don't really drink alcohol, which is probably aside the point, but it's interesting as you ask me, because you might ask me next week and I might say, oh, I would never not go to Pilates and I would never not do this, because I do tend to go through, I'm very, like, for example, the last 2 months after our big launch, I've not worked much. So my non-negotiables are very different than they have been in the past, which right now is I wake at 4:30 or 5 here because it's light. And my non-negotiable is actually to make myself go back to sleep, which is such a weird thing to say.
No, it's true.
Like, normally I'd bounce up because it's light and I'd probably go do my morning routine and breakfast and emails. And now I've actually taught myself, just right now, what's true for me is go back to sleep, allow yourself to go back to sleep. And there's just something so nurturing about that. And right now I'm actually getting my best work done at like 5 to 6 at night, which is not normal.
Yeah.
So I'm always like tuning into, I guess, the season and where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So I do have non-negotiables. I think they just change a lot.
Nice. And that's really, I think that's a really wonderful way of sharing that with the listeners, because so many times we've got like, the 5 a.m. club and the must, get up at 3 a.m. to fit in every single thing before like your children wake up, or before you have to, sit down and do your emails, and like, don't look at your phone and don't do this and don't do that. And sometimes actually I want to lie in bed and look at my phone and scroll Instagram. That is actually kind of like a treat for me versus, getting up. So I like the fact that,
being honest and checking in what's really going on.
Yeah. So I think that's really nice that you've said like you look after yourself, but the way you look after yourself ebbs and flows with the time in the seasons and in the seasons in your business. That's cool.
I shared before, I feel very much an advocate for health coaching. And a lot of people come out of the health coaching schools or various things, and they don't feel enough. They feel like they don't have enough qualifications, or I don't know how to diagnose the right diet or the right routine or the right whatever. My blanket belief in that is that it's about getting all of our energy systems rocking and rolling. So, if I'm sick or something's wrong, I want to go to the doctor and say, I am managing my stress well right now. I'm not stressed. I'm sleeping really well every night. I'm drinking adequate water. I'm eating a lot of vegetables, and I have a movement routine. And then from those basic frameworks, which is, we all know what to do. To me, health coaching is about instilling the habits, but also combined with what I'm saying to you now, it's like, okay, I'm doing those basics, but which do I need right now? Like tuning in. Like the last few months, it's been, I need to do yin yoga as my movement. And then right now, the last few weeks, I'm like, oh, I'm starting Pilates, and God, that's hard. So it's not, I don't believe there's one exercise or diet or whatever it is, but to me, it's about tuning into your energy system with the basics, and how do we get all systems rocking and rolling is how when you feel that, don't you? You're like firing on all cylinders. That's really what we're kind of fine tuning in our bodies at all time.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. So what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space?
I think it's that very much that we can have our businesses. We haven't talked about it a lot today, but wealth consciousness is very important and close to my heart, because it actually is a health and spirituality issue in my perspective. Second chakra, something we're very tight about. So I'm very passionate, obviously, about women working for themselves, learning to let go of all their beliefs and stuff on money. But really what we've just talked about, I don't know that we all need 7-figure businesses with team things like I'm talking about. What's the business that's true for you that allows you to rock and roll on all systems?
Yeah.
Because the corporate life is not really, for a lot of us, allowing us to, hey, I'm tired this morning. Yeah. Or like you went to the Christmas party for your son. Like, we're so constricted for many of us in those environments. So in the online world, I want to help people build businesses, but in their own way. I call it pot plant businesses with my client. Like, they might just want a little cactus business, and that's true to them, and how can that be an extension of them bringing the money that they want? Other people might want the forest, and you don't have to burn out all of these old martyr archetypes, very old, like patriarchal, got to burn out before I make money. I hope that with all my clients, that understanding that's not needed. We can do what we love. We can do what lights us up. And gosh, especially as health coaches, I just think this work needs to get out to everyone. So learning how to be comfortable, getting visible in all those pieces of marketing and sales too.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I mean, you're definitely doing that because, you are constantly helping people see that. So, I mean, I see that in the world whenever you pop up in my world. And, obviously you were one of the first. So it's pretty
cool. That story's going to stick with me today. I'm very happy. Because we talked about that, didn't we? Maybe we should say that for everyone. Why that means a lot to me is so many people get started and they feel like they're looking for the external approval or the comments or the likes or the feedback. And honestly, it doesn't come. I always say it's not 2012. When I started out in 2012, you could just write a call to action at the end of a post and people would comment back. Now, I really believe we just have to do this, like I said before, because it means that much to us. That we're believing that our ideal client is out there, is receiving this, and we kind of have to give ourselves that feedback. It's not often, that's why thank you. It's not often that people actually say to me like, oh my gosh, you're doing this. And I know it is happening when I meet people later.
Yeah.
It's not like on a daily basis that people tell you that. So you've got to keep going for your own mission.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so this is a really good example for you to think about. And I don't, and I say this in the sales world as well, but of all the emails that you get today, and some of them you'll read, some of them you'll delete. Of the ones that you read and you think, hey, that's really good. Oh yeah, even if it's just a one-liner, do you reply back to that person and say, thank you so much for that one-liner? You've really helped me today. No, you don't. You just read it and you think, oh, that's great. And you might change what you do for the day, or you might change how you send an email or a post or whatever, whatever tip that they gave you or what you're going to eat. So you find something on Pinterest and you think, oh, that's bloody great. You never email the person or message the person on Pinterest and say, thank you so much for your pin. So therefore, when you put stuff out to the world, don't expect that back.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just how it rolls now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if people do want to send you a message and say how awesome you are, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? I'd love
You're going to get like all these emails now.
Yeah. Make my day. So I'm Amanda Jane Daley on Instagram. I think my Facebook's the same. My website is Amanda J Daley, just with the letter J in the middle.com. I did set up a page for you, which has amandajdaily.com/get momentum. So on there's a link to my Facebook group, which is the main place that I actually hang out, Healthy Wealthy Society, and a couple of little freebies for your listeners.
Amazing. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes, but that's a real easy one to remember. amandajdaily.com/get momentum.
/get momentum.
Get momentum. Yeah. Awesome. So now you're well prepared for this last one. It usually catches everyone out. But what is your favorite one-liner you give yourself to get momentum in your business daily?
Yeah, definitely progress over perfection. I definitely have the perfectionist tendency inside that, or procrastination, possibly the same thing that I see with so many of my clients. And the biggest thing for me is don't worry about whether it's right, whether it's going to be finished, just take the next step. Break it down and take the next step. Yeah, and that's as much a mantra I have to remind myself on when I'm doing that. Things go really well, and when I fall off, it's normally that. It's actually my husband who normally has to remind me. I got that mantra off him.
Did you progress today? No, I was perfect all day. Perfectly did nothing.
We gotta get there, right? I mean, I think as entrepreneurs, our natural hunger is we're always going for the next. If we're trying to get there, it's kind of like we never give ourselves that tick. So knowing that we progressed, did I move forward today? I think is a really nice measure.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. You've been super generous with all the things that you've shared with us, all the like real insider knowledge. It's not often that after a launch, people say like, if it went great, we hear all about the 6-7 figure launch. If it doesn't go great, there's never any like explanation. And I really feel that sharing that with people will help everyone keep moving forward, keep taking that next step, because it happens to us all. So thank you so much for being really, really honest, sharing some great nuggets of wisdom with everyone. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so glad we had this conversation today. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Right. So we'll pop all the links in the show notes and stuff like that. If you think that anyone is in the health world and really wants to build a business, whether it's a cactus size or a whole rainforest, then make sure that you share this episode with them so that they can get a taste of Amanda and get on her wait list ready for the next launch, or otherwise snavel a couple of those secret positions that we've heard every month. And jump on in, because seriously, this woman owns the industry, owns the space. And if you want to succeed, then you have to have her on your resume, along with like every other degree and certificate in nutrition and wellness that you could ever want. If you can't get the clients and you can't get the marketing and you can't get the sales, then, you know, you need to have Amanda on your resume. So we will speak to you next episode, and stay tuned. Bye. If you love the woo with the do and you want to dive deeper into how you too can get and keep momentum in your business, then join thousands of other online entrepreneurs like yourself and head on over to Amazon and grab a copy of my book, Get Momentum, your ultimate guide to create 100K in 100 days without fear, overwhelm, and burnout. And while it's being delivered to you, you'll have time to leave a 5-star review of the podcast before you head on over to the next episode.